Hi, this is the Enneagram review of the characters from the Harry Potter movie series. The disclaimers here: number one, there are spoilers. Number two, I am not a super duper Harry Potter fan, but I do like fantasy and kind of looking deeper into characters. And I believe looking into characters of films and movies and shows helps us understand kind of ourselves a little bit. And I would also say I haven't read the books. Well, I read the first four books when they came out, but I haven't finished the other books. And I believe the movies don't have a full picture of a lot of characters, and hence I think I can really only look at the Enneagram types, the main characters. So that would be definitely Harry Potter, maybe Albus Dumbledore, Hermione, Ron, and Tom Riddle, Voldemort, maybe Severus Snape. But so most of the discussion will be Harry Potter, and the hopefully as you follow my thought process, you'll get a sense of how the Enneagram perspective works. Because I'm going to go a little bit more intermediate level than just talking about the types, because talking about how the numbers interact and a little bit more deeper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to journey through the 9 types and see which of them I see in Harry Potter and put it together and see what type he may be. Okay, so let's start from type 1. So I definitely see type 1ness in Harry. He feels he's the responsible one. He's the one that he has the mission. He is the one that needs to set things straight. Oh, I'm the chosen one. And he's kind of hard on himself, really more than hard on others. And that's, especially in the last 2 movies, he takes it upon himself to go forth and be this guy who's going to get all the Horcruxes, and it's up to me. And even if I need to go to the forest and face him and die, it's kind of my calling and my responsibility. Moving on to the next type, type 2. I definitely think he has significant type 2ness, although it doesn't show up so much in an ingratiating way. He is particularly focused on helping others and saving others and being there for others in his own way. Right? He makes sure he saves Draco. He makes sure he saves and helps out of those in need, and he to the point where he can sacrifice himself to help others and be that type of person. So again, I'm going to go through the 9 types, and I'll come back once I eliminate the types that I think he's not. So type 3, sort of. I would say kind of in the middle. I see some 3ness where he's competitive and he has the whole Quidditch thing, and he has to prove himself, and all that part of it. Although it's not that significant, it is parts of the story, and it pops up here and there. So I would say, yeah, he has some 3ness going on. Dialing down to type 4. Harry Potter's 4ness, I would say, comes out, especially when it has to do with his lack of family, or when it has to do with kind of the tragedy. I don't think it shows up explicitly much, but you know that it is a sore spot for him, and he finds comfort in being able to revisit his family. Especially, he uses the resurrection stone right before the battle with Tom Riddle Voldemort in the forest. But again, this I don't think is super strong. So I see some 4ness, but it's not the most major aspect of him. And 5, the type 5 space is about competency, about knowing to be and do stuff. And Harry's not like that at all. There's no There's not. He doesn't roll back to stew on what he can do and prepare and be able to be ready for the next thing. That's not really emphasized at all. Type 6, there is some sickness, but I think it's very minuscule. He does have this anti-authoritarian aspect where he kind of wants to break the rules, but I don't think it has to do with finding groundedness or trusting. There's this whole aspect of, oh, I'm part of Gryffindor, but in the movies, that's also not particularly emphasized. And the reason he wants to be part of Gryffindor, I think more has to do with he didn't want to be part of Slytherin and his identity as, that part of his identity. And type 7, I don't really see him as jumping around trying to get some sort of satisfaction, and his focus is not on the whirlwind and trying to get out to do things and to find kind of the spontaneity aspect. And I kind of sped through that, but basically, I don't think his issue is with the thinking head center, which is 5, 6, 7. But definitely 8. When we get to 8, I see 8ness in him, where he is really just there. He just takes action. He goes into where things need to be done. He just shows up, and he just has this sort of, not, I wouldn't call it bravery, but here I am, and I'm gonna deal with this whatever. I'm gonna not even figure it out. It's just, I'm just gonna act and be there, and things may turn out because he's the main character and the kind of the plot armor. There's the whole point of the movie series, or the whole series in general. And I think the whole rule breaking, quote unquote, aspect has to do with, I'm just gonna go and do what I need to do, and the rules are whatever. This thing is just more important. I'm speeding through this for now. I'll come back to once I go through all of these. So type 9, I don't really see 9ness in him. I don't see him retreating to daydream or to be overly obsessed with harmony or peace or conflicts. I mean, it's minuscule enough that I wouldn't consider it a major aspect of who he is. So in other words, to review, I see type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8 within Harry Potter. And the type that makes the most sense to put this all together, well, there's a couple of possibilities. I think Harry Potter is a type 2, and here is why I think that's the case. As a type 2, you have qualities of the nearby types. So the neighborhood of 1, 2, and 3. As I said before, he does have qualities of the 1 and the 3, but definitely his sense of a mission, being responsible, making things right, and being kind of self-critical, there's a little bit of that, is stronger than at least what the movie portrays on his need to prove himself. So in other words, I think he's a 2 with a 1 wing. And the 2ness, to revisit the 2ness is about the quality of being loved and needed, and the perception that I am not loved and needed, and I need to live life to get that love and feeling needed. So this is part of his story, right? Because he grew up literally in a circumstance where he didn't feel loved or needed, the opposite of loved and needed. Mostly, living under the stairway and the cupboard and all that. And it shows up a lot because he's really willing to go out there, even sacrificing himself to help others, save others. Even in the end, he goes to fight Tom Riddle, Voldemort, and he's willing to just die and save other people. And he goes back to save Draco and that his lackey when they're in the room of requirement, and there is a strong sense of I need to help others, and which is a very type 2 type of quality. And the message he got growing up probably was, "Oh, I'm not loved and needed," and because of his family situation. So, where does a type 4 and 8 come in when I said he's a type 2? So, type 2s, depending if they're overwhelmed or in a sense of security, which I'll explain, they can be like, they move along the arrows inside the Enneagram figure towards either the type 4 or type 8. So, this is what I mean. The type 2, when they're overwhelmed, they move along the arrow towards the type 8 space. So when we see Harry Potter being overwhelmed or put into a lot of duress or distress or into very challenging scenarios, he becomes more 8 like. He takes on the qualities of the 8, which has to, especially in the kind of the what we call the average and unhealthy spaces of the 8. And I believe it was movie 5 when he's kind of like kind of annoying. He's kind of like a jerk to everyone. And I wouldn't say type 8 is about being a jerk, but if you're kind of on the unhealthy spectrum of the type 8, it can come out that way, as in off-putting people and get away from me and kind of just being in people's faces. And we can see Harry doing that in a lot of times. He's in a tough spot or not really happy-go-lucky zone, and then he gets kind of get riled up and kind of in people's faces. On the other side, the type 2, when they're in a security zone, meaning they're with people they love or feel comfortable, they go towards the type 4. And in Harry's case, it's the being how should I say this? It's the he kind of has this tragic figure or tragic history type of element to him. And when he's with his family or friends or loved ones, he's more apt to, I don't know if this is shared directly, but my perception that he's more open to show that, I'm kind of bummed that my godfather died and my parents died, and there's this sense of I had this personal tragedy. I mean, when he's with the general public, he doesn't weep and show, oh no, I lost all this stuff. But you get the sense it really matters to him, and he really only shares this when he's with loved ones, which is kind of how the 2 goes to the 4 about how he only shares his not sad, but kind of I don't know, his moodiness or his moods or his atmospheres about having this kind of tragic past when he's with his loved ones, and he's able to open up more about his feelings. So that is why I think Harry Potter is a type 2. I left a few things out, but in essence, I think he's a type 2 with a 1 wing because he's in the neighborhood of 1, 2, and 3. He has those qualities, and it makes sense because he has 4-ness and 8-ness that he has depending on the situation. That's my interpretation of Harry Potter. Okay, let's move on to Ron. Ron, let's see. 1-ness, is he about responsibility, mission, and integrity? No. 2, is he about helping others and being there for others all the time? Not really. Type 3, does he want to prove himself and show his value? Maybe a little bit. That's the 3. 4-ness, does he have a sense of, oh, woe is me, and I'm a tragic figure, and I'm so special and different, and wanting to um, prove to himself that he's unique? Not really. Type 5, is he want to kind of learn more and know more to act in the world? No, he's doesn't really care about knowing stuff. He just kind of is there. Type 6, I would say there's maybe a little bit of a type 6 in him because he's worrying about the potential outcomes. I think this one part where right he whether or not he's influenced by the locket, the Horcrux locket, he has a falling out with Harry because first he thought, oh, I trust Harry Potter, I'm gonna go with him, and then he realizes or thinks this kind of trip is, what's the point of this mission? We don't know anything, and we're gonna fail. And he kind of leaves Harry in a huff. But later he comes back and says, "Oh, maybe I was wrong," and then kind of goes back to Harry and ends up helping him out. 7, I don't really see him being in the spontaneous, looking for fun, satisfaction, and being avoidant of his inner world. Type 8, no, I don't really see it as uh, challengerness, kind of being in the world type of him as well. And the type 9, I kind of see the type 9 where there are times where he wants to blank out and kind of ignore issues and phase out of reality, which is a defense mechanism strongly used by the type 9. So definitely 3, 6, or 9 in that space, because those 3 are also connected by the lines inside the Enneagram. So the 963 has this intimate transformation relationship. So of 963, which one makes the most sense? I think 3 makes the least sense. I mean, he does have he wants to be on the Quidditch team and all that, but I wouldn't say that's strong enough of a motivation to say he's a 3 and to prove himself, right? So I think that leaves 9 or 6. 9 or 6. The question is, for me, is he more concerned about achieving or wanting a harmony, sort of peace, and not wanting conflict? He's definitely has a lot of that. He doesn't like conflict. He wants things to be fine and easy, but then he does, when it gets down to it, he does take action. Like when that chess part, I think the first movie where he kind of sacrifices himself to do that, to let Harry go on. But I think it makes more sense for him to be a 6. He's definitely he's definitely in his mind more. His head and thinking more. He's worries, is anxious about this and that. He's kind of here and there, not here, not there, kind of back and forth, back and forth. But if he is a type 6, that means he's in the neighborhood of the 5, 6, and 7. As opposed to if he's a 9, he would have 8, 9, and 1 qualities. I don't think the movies give me enough information to see if he has 5-ness and 7-ness to show that he's 6E. But the 6-ness makes more sense to me. And if we consider the lines of development, that may help. But in short, I would say he's definitely on the 9-6 axis. But it's more the 6. He's overly concerned and fretting in his thoughts, and can be very with his group. He has a kind of not falling out, but a conflict with Harry. Kind of goes back to him when I can't believe you put your name in the Goblet of Fire, and then they kind of, I don't know if I can trust you. Then he realizes, it was kind of my fault, and kind of back to trust him. And the whole relationship with Hermione is, I don't know how specifically I can interpret that, but there's a sense of leaving and getting back to Hermione. There's this kind of back and forth, and the back and forthness is in the head is a very 6E thing. So I think Ron is a type 6, but I'm not sure what wing he has. Okay, next, Hermione. From the very beginning, well, let's just go through all the types because I think that's the most effective way to figure this out. Does she have type 1ness, meaning want to make things better, to being the responsible one, fixing things, wanting to be improving herself, being self-critical and critical of others? Yeah, there's some of that. She is the one that corrects people when they do something wrong, or hey, this is the right way to do it, and kind of she's the reliable one, right? She's the one that knows all the spells and the one that people turn to as the responsible one. Type 2, does she a very helper oriented type? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I can't think of too many. Yes, but it's just not really her core concern or ego fixation. So I think that's all I'll say about that. Type 3, yes, I see a lot of wanting to prove herself, especially with a background about not coming from a magical witch wizard background. There's a lot of wanting to prove herself and show that she has what it takes, and she definitely does. So 3 is definitely strong for me. Type 4, does she have this aspect of um, needing to feel significant and special, etc.? No, I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, let's just move on. So type 5, maybe because she's constantly learning and wanting to. She takes classes simultaneously and she knows all the stuff and kind of comes up with an innovative way to do things. But I would argue that her need to learn more and take all these classes is more rooted on her desire to show that she's not that she's competent, but that she is that she can that she's worth it, that she can prove her worth, which is more the 3 space. So maybe 5, but I would more go to 3 than 5. 6, is she particularly concerned about loyalty and the type 6 space of the anxiety kind of going back and forth in their head? Maybe you could say there are parts where that shows up, but I don't think it's a huge part of her. 7, no, she's not really. She's not. No, I don't. Basically, I don't see the 7. Type 8, I can kind of see the 8 because, well, 8. Well, let's put it this way: I see her being very upfront, being very, I'm here, and I call it aggressive, but having this challenging energy of being there and making sure others know where she's coming from and make her stance known. So yeah, I can see maybe 8. 9, no, she's not really concerned with the 9 stuff. So basically I have type 1, type 3, type 8, maybe type 5. It's harder to pull this together because there isn't a part that kind of pulls this all together. So let me see. So initially when I was watching the movies, I thought there was this 8-5 axis thing going on where she wants to keep learning and is a really good student and all that stuff. But after I went through this going around the circle, I really think the core what's going on is more likely to 3, where she really wants to prove herself, and versus the 1 being more responsible. But I think it makes the most sense that she's a type 3 of 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 all the 9 types. And if she's a type 3, that means she has some 2-ness and 4-ness within her. It's hard to say. But I think type 3 makes the most sense because she's very attuned to wanting to prove herself. And I've said that many times. And especially given her background, she's kind of put at a quote unquote disadvantage. And it comes out in the series about, oh, she's not fully magical blooded or not magically blooded. I don't remember the exact scenario. So I would say Hermione is a type 3. Without But I can't give additional stipulations, meaning what wing she is and things like that. But maybe I'll reread the books and I'll come up with a different conclusion. But this is my current stance for now. Tom Riddle, aka Voldemort. Let's go around the circle. Type 1, is he concerned with his concept of goodness and improving himself and improving others? No. Not even on, I guess, on an unhealthy aspect of being super critical. Type 2 is he giving in order to feel like he needs to get? No. Type 3 doesn't need to prove himself and show his value, how important he is? Maybe a little bit. Type 4 is he focused on his story and his atmosphere and his moods? I don't think so. Type 5, is he concerned with the knowledge part about wanting to be competent and not being sure about he can go in the world? No. Type 6, Type 6, does he feel ungrounded and is searching for a groundedness? Maybe you can maybe talk about how he focuses on making the whole cruxes and really wants to establish himself and feel safe. I mean, how many additional lives did he make, right, so that he can survive? And he's also very anti-authoritarian, meaning he's challenging the if whether he can trust and kind of be with other groups or other people, and he definitely wants the trust of his following of his underlings. So maybe. Type 7, no. Type 8, yeah, type 8 makes sense. He's just basically, he wants to kind of be the boss, and kind of an unhealthy 8 where he basically says, if you're, I don't really, I want you to follow me, but I don't really care about you, and I'm just gonna kill you off at a whim. But I want you to all you to follow me, and I'm just gonna do what I want. And um, so kind of I see the like, unhealthy sort of 8. Type 9, Harmony. He kind of wants a harmony. And it's I think he's a little bit harder because he's basically a shadow figure, to speak in a Jungian psychological term. And it's hard to know what his motivation really is. Like, what did he really want in the end? He just wanted to kill Harry Potter because he wanted to feel invincible. I guess he just wants to feel invincible and unapproachable and impenetrable, which is, I would say, 8-ish. Okay, so I am claiming Tom Riddle Voldemort, to be an 8. But again, maybe I'll read the books and I'll come to a different conclusion. Let's quickly do Severus Snape. I'm not gonna go through the entire circle. Or maybe I will. But very quickly. Type 1. Do I see him? Yeah, I see a little bit about being the responsible one and by himself trying to fix things and having this keeping this sense of integrity, which he was kind of very subjective sort of integrity. So maybe 1. 2, he's definitely not a type 2. Type 3, no. Type 4, he's definitely melancholic and love struck. And that defines a lot of what he does. And I think that's how he defines himself too, as well. Basically, being so moved and touched and perpetually touched by his love for Lily Potter. So 4 makes the most sense. 5, no. 6, no. 7, no. 8, no. 9, no. So I would say Severus Snape is a type 4, and he does have this connection to the 1, and the 1 and 4 axis, they're connected. And it's when you see him with those that he trusts and those that he uh, is a particularly affiliation with, like Albus Dumbledore, he shows his integrity and responsibility and making sure he carries through what he said. So yeah, definitely I would say 4 because I can see this 1-4 axis and he's a 4. Albus Dumbledore. I think the movies don't give enough for me to say because even in the end, it's confusing because at least in the movies, his brother talks about him, or he says, "Oh, he was very secretive and he sacrificed his sister," but he's very protective of Harry Potter. But the question is, did he really care for him, or did he really see him as someone to help get rid of Voldemort? So let me quickly go through the circle to see where he kind of is. So 1, um, maybe some oneness because he definitely sticks to this mission, even to the point of dying, right, and telling Severus to kill him, to kind of carry out his mission. And when he tells Harry, even if I'm not in my right mind, let me keep drinking this, what is it, that potion, that paralysis potion, and I gotta kind of finish it through. Maybe that's a 1 thing, I'm not sure. 2, two-ness. I mean, he is the headmaster, and he's responsibility is making sure they're safe. But I wouldn't say he's particularly focused on helping Harry, not others. So I would say not a 2. 3, does he need to prove himself, or is he have a sense of he already knows what he's doing? Is he a type 3? I'm gonna say no, but who knows? Maybe I'll come back to that. Type 4, at least from what you know from the movies, no. Type 5, no. Type 6, no. Type 7, no. Type 8, no. Type 9, maybe. There's a source of harmony that he wants to protect, but more so for the magic or the wizardry world to rid of Tom Riddle Voldemort. So really 1 and 9 is really the closest I can get to anything. I would say more 1, but I think there's just is not enough to say. But I would say 1 with very low confidence. So I think Harry Potter is a type 2 with a 1 wing with moderately high confidence. Ron is a type 6 with higher slash moderate confidence. Hermione is a type 3 with high moderate confidence. Severus Snape is type 4 with a high moderate confidence. Albus Dumbledore type 1 with low confidence. If you have questions, comments, or you're a Harry Potter master, or you know things about the Enneagram, and you can basically, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like to amend these concepts and my opinions. I think I will have to reread the books or read the books slash listen to them, maybe the audio books, and I'll have to come back to this. Maybe I'll do a part 2 version of this once I get the fuller story and character development. Alright, so this was the Enneagram review of the Harry Potter characters based on only the movies. Check out my other videos on other reviews of other entertainment stories and my Enneagram reviews of other stories and etc. And I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.